In this video, we're going to look at for loop basics. All right, so some of the details, we're going to have a motivating problem to find the sum of a fixed number of values, and we'll introduce the dry principle, talk about scope and where to put declarations for result variables when you're using a loop, and then how to update variables, both incrementing by one and accumulating a series of values. Suppose I want to add 4 numbers entered by the user at runtime. Okay, well, this is a way to do this. Can declare 4 variables, for the 4 different things I have to add up, and then another one for the sum, and then enter them, one after another. So this is fine. We can run this, execute it, and behaves as expected. Enter value 1, 8, 4, 15, and 2. And sum is 29, as we expect. But this is highly repetitive, okay? And it's awkward now to change. Well, if my problem changes a little bit, and I want to write, I have a program that sums 5 values or 3, I have to change the source code, change a number of things in here, add or take away code, so forth. So there's a principle involved in programming called dry, and it stands for don't repeat yourself. If there's a way to combine highly redundant statements, then you should use that. So the way we're going to approach this is to introduce a repetition structure or a loop. And start a new file for this. Add for with loop.java. So we get that started like this. Same start with just different files, so we have to change the name of the class. So I'm going to start this with a new kind of statement called for loop. It starts with the word for, F-O-R. Then in parentheses, 3 items separated by semicolons, and then a block of code in braces. We'll call this the and the parts that go here, first is a loop variable, a new loop variable. Call it, this example we'll call it n. And you start it off wherever you want your repetition to start. The middle part is a condition formed exactly the way they are for if statements, and you compare your loop variable to some value. Okay, in this case, I'll say 4. I'll say n less than or equal to 4, because that's where I want my loop to stop, when n gets to 4. The last part is called the update. It looks like this. N with 2 plus signs, or your loop variable specifically, with 2 plus signs behind it, and that will raise the value of the variable by 1. So to illustrate the body of the loop, I'm just going to print the value of n to illustrate what's going on. We're going to see this statement repeated, but with different values for n, because every time it happens, n will have been raised by 1. N is 1, n is 2, n is 3, n is 4. All right, so 3 things here. All right, the initialization, that sets up a new variable, n, and it starts at 1. Then the condition is checked. That's the condition. If the condition is true, the body of the loop is executed, and that's why we see here n is 1. The update happens after the body of the loop. So after however many statements are in between these braces, control goes back to the update. All right. N++ means N is going to change from 1 to 2. Then we go to the condition, and that completes the loop. All right, so we have a loop that starts with the initialization, which happens once. All right. Then from the initialization, we go to the condition. If the condition is true, we execute just like an if, but with the exception that after the body of the loop, you go back to the update, and very often you'll change the variable. So when n is 2, and 2 is still less than or equal to 4, so we get this output. The body executes again. Then n goes to 3. 3 is still less than or equal to 4, so the body of the loop executes, and we see n is 3. After the output statement, we go back to the update. N goes to 4. 4 is less than or equal to 4, so we see another output. N is 4. After the output, we go back to the update. N goes to 5. 5 is not less than or equal to 4. The condition is false, so control passes to whatever follows the closing brace of the loop body. In this case, that's the end of the program. So we're not just interested in printing the value of n, we're interested in printing that as an input prompt. All right, so what we really want to say is something like a value number, right? And want it to be a prompt. And then we have to input a variable from the user. Now we have something like this. Enter value 1. So all I did was change what was being printed and followed it with an input statement so that execution can pause and I can enter something. 3 to 17, 9. Okay, so there's still nothing after the loop. So as soon as once n becomes 5, loop changes. Let's put an output statement here. Enter value 1. End of program. So we only see this once because it's not in the loop, and we don't see it until the loop finishes. So this happens 4 times before we see this once. Nature represents, and we don't have to repeat ourselves. But now we have a problem because I have to add up a value that is changes one to another. I don't have a way to say this anymore. Equals value 1, right? There's no way to do that because I don't have the numbers anymore. All right, so the way to set this up is before you start the loop, right, I have to start off with my sum. Right, so this is going to be a very common technique, is that you create a result variable, maybe more than one, before loop starts. Right, and notice I have to give it a value as well. Right, so now I can say update the sum with whatever this variable is. I can say add that to sum and do a statement like this. Sum equals sum plus value. Right, this looks a little odd first time you see it because you have the same variable on the left and the right. But you got to remember what this means. What a statement like this means, right, is back to the pattern. It's a right-hand side that goes into a left-hand side variable. The right-hand side always happens first. So here's what's going on. there's a number of variables in this program, sum, n, and value. I'm going to make a table of those here. N, sum, and value. Sum starts at 0, n starts at 1, and we'll use this example here for the input values. All right, so when control reaches the input statement, we said enter value 1, and value is a 3. So now control goes to the next line. The right-hand side executes first. So it's going to do sum plus value, which is 3. And that gets placed in the left-hand side, which just so happens to also be sum. All right, so the old value gets replaced with the new value. Now, that's the end of the body of the loop. Right? So control cycles back to the update, and from the update to the condition. Right? The update says make n 2, condition is true. Right? So we see the next prompt, enter value 2, that's a 4. Well, now the old value gets erased by 4. Right? And now we have sum plus value. Well, sum plus value now is 7. And 7 gets put into wherever the left-hand side is stating. Just so happens to be sum, so the 3 gets erased. Because these are happening in a specific sequence, we can use the old value in order to find a new value. So you see effectively what's happening is we're adding that number to a running total. All right, so after the body of the loop, we go back to the update. N becomes 3. 3 is less than 4. We do a new input, say enter value 3, all right, and that's 5. So the 5 comes in here, it's stored in value, erasing the old value. And now this expression, sum plus value, is 12. These are all gone. And the 12 gets placed in sum. And now back to the update, n goes to 4. 4 is less than 4. We see enter value 4. It's a 6. All right, that goes to value. So now sum plus value is 12 plus 6, which is 18. That 18 gets stored in the sum value. Go back to the update. N goes to 5. 5 is not less than 4. That's false. So we skip. So we skip to whatever follows the closing brace, which is this output here, end of program. Pick up here in the next video.